Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 21 of albums that are 30 years old in 2023. That's right, we're looking back on the year 1993. We have picked out together our 31 favorite albums from 1993 that are celebrating their 30th birthdays or 30th anniversary, however you like to look at it. 31 days here in March, 31 of our favorite releases from 1993. And this one had to be on my list. This was the debut album from this Swedish band, released December 3rd, 1993. Recorded at Hellspawn and Unisound Studios, produced by the band along with Dan Swano for No Fashion Records. I'm talking about The Somber Lane from Dissection. Some of you might be like, I do not know Dissection. Well, it's kind of, sort of an obscure band. Not an obscure band in extreme metal circles. This is a very notorious band who only released a couple albums. In fact, 2 albums back originally in the day, 1 album later on, and then their main man committed suicide, and that was basically the end of the band. So this band features the late John Notveit on vocals, lead and rhythm guitars, acoustic guitars. We've got John Zwetsloot on rhythm guitar and classical guitar. You got Ole Oman on drums, Peter Palmdahl on bass guitar. All right, that is the band here. This is the album. So, Dissection, best way to describe Dissection, and all lyrics, and I believe most of the songs are written by John as well. They are traditionally classified as a black metal band. However, they're much different than most of the other black metal bands that were debuting on the scene in the early mid-90s. So again, this 1993, this is right around the time where black metal was just, black metal bands were coming out of the underground in Scandinavia and Norway and Sweden and Finland and whatnot. But these guys actually borrowed just as much from very early death metal as well as the new wave of British heavy metal. Okay, so while you do hear a lot of the fast, like tremolo picked guitar riffs on this album, and the vocals are of the harsher, they're not like deep growls like death metal, they're not the high pitched raspy wailing of black metal, they're somewhere in between. But there's tons of like instrumental passages on this album and in their songs. While there are vocals for sure, many of these songs are very lengthy, and they provide for lots of dual guitar interplay, kind of like vintage Iron Maiden. Okay, so think of Maiden on like the first 2, maybe 3 albums. There's a hefty influence there. You can hear some Bathory here. You can certainly hear some early Possessed here as well. So again, there's this kind of like mix of black and death metal, but also this kind of thrash and new wave of British heavy metal thing going on. I mean, the guitar riffs and the unison guitar things that are going on throughout this album are very, very cool. The riffs are nice and heavy, but they're very, very melodic. This is also a very melodic album. This album is also cited as one of the early instances of what you call melodic death metal, kind of like At the Gates and In Flames and Dark Tranquility, that sort of thing. So again, this band that kind of very, very early on was blending some different styles and coming up with something very unique at the time. And both this and their second album are looked at as highly influential albums on the Scandinavian extreme metal scene. So let's take a look at the songs here. So we've got 11 tracks. However, this album is kind of broken down into longer songs and then little shorter interludes. So you've got the kick-ass Black Horizons, which kicks off the album at 8 minutes and change. Again, lots of weaving, unison, twin guitar harmonies and things going on in this song. Lots of pounding riffs. The drumming is very, very good on this album, and it's not like complete, blasting all throughout, which is good. There's lots of varying tempos and things. Then you have the title track, the Somber Lane, which is just epic in scope, quite heavy though. Then you have this lush little acoustic piece like Crimson Towers. So they have like 3 of these throughout the album that are like, roughly a minute or thereabouts. Just little classical guitar pieces. It almost sounds like you're listening to like a Steve Hackett album, right? Steve Hackett always likes to throw in these little acoustic pieces. Lovely stuff here. Then A Land Forlorn, which is totally killer. Again, kind of progressive in nature. It's kind of thrashy. It's kind of technical, right? But it's still at its core this kind of black death metal hybrid. You got Heaven's Damnation. That's one of the shorter of the regular tracks on here. A Land Forlorn before it is just under 7. Then you have the kind of just under 4 minute long Frozen, which you think Frozen like the frozen forests and whatnot of Sweden, right? But it's actually not that atmospheric. It's a pretty heavy song. Then you have Into Infinite Obscurity, which is another one of those really cool acoustic kind of classical pieces, which is really nice. And then you have In the Cold Winds of Nowhere, another heavy one. And then that's followed up by the Grief Prophecy, Shadows Over a Lost Kingdom, another really cool. It's a shorter track, but it's still very technical, very advanced as far as like the intricate arrangements go. And then what might be even one of my favorite songs on the album, Mistress of the Bleeding Sorrow. Again, the way the song is structured, very, very progressive in nature, very complex, still very heavy, amazing guitar work on there. And then the album finishes off with Feathers Fell, which is another little acoustic, like kind of classical piece on solo guitar. So, all in total, 45 minutes in length, perfect length for this album. Again, one of the standout releases on the early extreme metal scene of the early 90s. But I think there's a lot here that a lot of people would really, really like from a musical perspective, right? So again, if you have kind of somewhat of an open ear, I would highly recommend giving this a shot. This is a very, very cool album. Again, if you love, musically speaking, really early Iron Maiden, also maybe the other new wave of British heavy metal band, Satan, okay, that sort of thing, mixed with some of the epicness of Bathory, some of the death metal ferocity of early Possessed, and then blended with some of that early, like, Immortal, Mayhem type of black metal, right? But also you can hear some of the other Swedish bands on the scene, like At the Gates and Dark Tranquillity and so on and so forth. Early Soilwork, that sort of thing. Very, very cool stuff. The Somber Lane by Dissection. This is my pick for today, day 21. If you are a fan, let us know what you think. I've actually seen plenty of you naming this album during the course of the month so far. So for all you metal folks who have been picking Dissection, we're on the same wavelength there. And if you haven't listened to it, go check it out. Let us know what you think. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. We've also got the links down below to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page, where you can get all sorts of cool Sea of Tranquility shirts, t-shirts, hats, caps, hoodies, hooded sweatshirts, pullover sweatshirts, zipped sweatshirts, the whole 9 yards. We got coffee mugs, we got stickers, a lot of different designs and things. So go investigate the merch page. And we'll see you here tomorrow morning for another album that is 30 years old in 2023. But don't touch that dial. We've got coming up tonight. We have In the Prog Seat this week, where we are going to do another album study. We're going to take a look at, dissect, turn it inside out, Coliseum 2's War Dance, the great fusion album from Coliseum 2, featuring Gary Moore, excuse me, Don Airey, John Heisman, right? Great stuff. If you haven't heard it, check out the show. I think it's an album you're going to want to listen to. So that's it for this episode of Albums That Are 30 Years Old in 2023. I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you tomorrow morning with another one. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.